Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. Senator Amy Marcos expects a fresh impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte when the one-year ban rule expires in February. And according to the senator, it seems the funding needed to push the complaint past the lower house is already in place.
And the Department of Health says it will continue existing medical assistance programs for medical assistance for indigent and financially incapacitated patients, or MyFIP, among others. But under revised regulations, politicians will no longer be allowed to distribute any financial assistance through the agency.
And later, we'll also take a look at the situation in Albay, where the province's famous volcano, Mount Mayon, continues on with its heightened activity. Hundreds of residents living near it have been evacuated. Inclement weather in the area has also raised the alarm of possible lahar flow.
Pero nung nakita ko, eto nga, ng mga gilingan ng baboy, ayan na, yung mga napakaraming soft na lumobo, hindi ko alam bakit may ganun pa eh. Ang sabi kasi, naniwala naman ako na magiging cleanest budget, naging sneaky budget naman to. Bakit ganun? So, bakit ginigiling ang pork kundi para pagulungin ang impeachment? Kaya, yun nga, nagtataka ako bakit ganun.
Senator Amy Marcos lashes out anew over the 2026 national budget. This time, she's saying the allotment for the aid might actually be used beyond what it's intended for, say, fund Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment. Let's discuss this with Merimon Reyes, our resident mobile journalist at the Senate. Merimon, ano ba ang nasabi ni Senator Amy at paano daw gagamitin, saan kukunin itong pera na ito na ayuda para naman sa impeachment?
Ladies, good evening. Kanina sa isang online press conference, sasabi ni Senator Amy Marcos na suspetsya niya at tingin niya na may mga isinasantabing pondo sa IH. Ito yung Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situations, yung TUPAD, yung tulong panghanap buhay sa ating disadvantaged or displaced workers, maging yung MyFIP na medical assistance for financially incapacitated na patients. Itong mga ayuda funds ay mukhang iniipon daw o itinasantabi para sa sinister or political purpose. Ang nasabi kanina ni Senator Amy, either for impeachment daw ba yan, para daw ba sa BARM elections or for the barangay election, ang sabi ng senadora, parang sa politika raw or para sa politika ang ginagawang pag-iipon nito. Pakinggan natin ang bahagi ng press conference kanina umaga.
Talagang maging malisyoso. Ang totoo, hindi naman talaga napag-usapan sa budget. Pero nung nakita ko, eto nga, ng mga gilingan ng baboy, ayan na, yung mga napakaraming soft na lumobo, hindi ko alam bakit may ganun pa eh. Ang sabi kasi, naniwala naman ako na magiging cleanest budget, naging sneaky budget naman to. Bakit ganun? So, bakit ginigiling ang pork kundi para pagulungin ang impeachment? Kaya yun nga, nagtataka ako bakit ganon.
Merimon, ano yung sinasabi ng senadora na may mga kakasuhan na mga lawmakers next week? Na meron ba siyang advance information dito?
Says actually may mga speculations na nakuha or i-share kanina ang senadora based sa mga impormasyon na nakuha niya. Ang una yung nasabi nga rin is by February 6, ito daw yung reckoning day for the second impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero before that, around the next week, meron daw mga umuugong naman na charges for senators and congressmen. Yung ilan pa dito, mga former senator. At though sinasabi dito ng senadora, ito yung naririnig niya lang at nakuha niya lang daw ng mga impormasyon. Let's listen in to Senator Amy Marcos.
Balita, January 15, ang charges against certain senators will be filed. I understand they have already drafted against Senator Jinggoy, Senator Joel, and former Senator Bong Revilla. Pagkatapos ang balita ko, meron na rin daw against Congressman Garjola, Congressman Yap, and his brother, Congressman Yap as well. Pero alam ko na pinagmamalaki na kompleto na daw yung ebidensya at pwede na daw i-file.
So Marymon, to clarify, no, senators lang daw ba ang kakasuhan at saan niya nakuha tong information?
Hindi nag-name drop ng itong si Senator Amy ng kanyang pinagkuhanan ng information. Basta sabi niya, ang pagkakaalam niya raw sa nakuha niya raw na impormasyon, around January 15, meron na for senators, including former Senator Bong Revilla. For congressmen, ang nabanggit dito is Congressman Garjola and yung magkapatid na Congressman Yap. So ito pa lang yung mga nabanggit na mga pangalan, pero wala ring napatungkulan talagang source. Kaya ang sinasabi rin dito ng Senadora, speculations niya to. And rolling to February, inaasahan naman daw yung mukhang handa ng impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte. The second time around naman.
At Marymon, ano naman itong sinasabing pinagbabawalan na raw pag-usapan ng mga allegations against top-ranking officials? Can you explain that to us?
Medyo kanina galit si Senator Amy Marcos patungkol dyan kasi raw nauubusan daw sila ng oras ng pagsasalita. Meron lang daw yung 5 minutes, 10 minutes pagka naubos na. And yung other bigger fish at sea, hindi pa raw nila mabanggit man lang o mapag-usapan. So ang nasabi pa nga dito, from the House Speaker daw, pataas, ito raw yung hindi raw nila matalakay sa mga pagdili ng Blue Ribbon. Pero kanina lang din, naglabas din naman ng pahayag si Blue Ribbon Committee Chair Senator Ping Lacson na hindi niya raw dinidectify itong baseless na accusations o yung speculation mula sa senadora. Pakinggan natin muli yung bahagi ng press conference.
Hanggang sa mabababang posisyon lamang ng DPWH, hanggang sa mga kontratistang pinag-utusan, mga big time ayaw banggitin, pinagbabawalan kami. Kaya sa totoo lang, surrender na ako, wala na talagang mangyayari rito, moro-moro na lang to. Si Speaker daw, si Bonjing, ay nako, sabi si Speaker daw, hindi daw guilty. Pagkatapos, hindi binabanggit. Walang binabanggit, si Saldi ko lang. Parating hindi binabanggit yung mga taga-palasyo kahit lumilitaw ang pangalan nila paulit-ulit.
Marymon, so mukhang marami ring sinabi si Senator Amy Marcos patungkol na rin sa ICI. Sabi niya magdidisband na raw ito come February 1st. Saan daw niya nakuha yung impormasyon na yan?
Pauline, bukod doon sa nasabi kanina ng senadora na January 15, charges against certain senators and then days later naman against certain congressmen. And then by February 6, yung reckoning date naman for the impeachment against VP Sara Duterte. Nabanggit din ng senadora na sa impormasyong ulit nakuha niya, February 1, magkakaroon ng disbanding ang Independent Commission for Infrastructure. At ang sinasabi pa dito ng senadora, sunod-sunod na rin daw yung pagre-resign ng mga miyembro nito, wala na rin daw komisyoner na natitira. Though wala ulit pinatungkulan na source o pinanggalingan ng impormasyon ang senadora. Pero base rin dito sa statement din naman ni Attorney Brian Kitosaka, Executive Director ng ICI, wala silang na-receive na kahit na anong impormasyon or notice regarding dyan mula sa Malacanang.
Okay. Marymon, bagamat wala siyang na-name drop no, ng mga source, nabanggit ba ni Senadora Amy Marcos kung bakit siya nag-speculate in a press con? Bakit niya isinawalat lahat ng mga impormasyon na supposedly nalalaman niya?
Sean, yung tungkol doon sa national budget, ang sinasabi dito ng senadora, hindi raw siya pumirma sa budget ng 2025 and even for the budget of 2026 kasi nakikita niya marami pa rin daw questionable aspeto ng budget. Even though kanina naman in-acknowledge ng senadora yung transparency efforts si Congresswoman Mika Swansing, House Committee on Appropriations Chair, maging ni Senator Sherwin Gatchalian naman na Senate Finance Committee Chair, marami pa rin daw yung unrecorded conversations among these individuals. Kaya ang kine-question dito ng senadora, yung chances na yung pork, kahit daw naglumalabas na giniling para sa kanya kasi chinap-chap daw ito, giniling ito, kinalat lang daw ito sa iba't ibang bahagi ng panukalang pondo. Pero meron pa rin daw presensya ng pork. And then ang nasabi kanina ng senadora, binabadya niya na mukhang may ilang mga kongresista raw na may ipinangako na makukuhang pera mula dito sa ayuda. And then ang sinasabi pa, it may be used for sinister or political purposes. At ang nabanggit nga, either yung nalalapit daw na impeachment na alam niyang nakikita niya raw, handa na raw, o kaya naman daw sa farm elections daw ba yan, kung para daw ba yan sa barangay elections. Walang specific talagang tinukoy ang senadora, pero sinasabi niya, posibleng magamit daw for a sinister or political purpose itong mga kinikwestyong ayuda. Maging yung tungkol doon sa farm-to-market rules, from 16 billion pesos kasi naging 33 billion pesos siya. And ang sinasabi dito ng senadora, farm-to-pocket roads daw ang nangyayari. And ang sinasabi naman dito ni Senator Sherwin, may safeguards naman daw para masiguro na lahat ay may implement ng maayos Lahat ay upload sa transparency portal at may technical description. Merong station number at meron na rin makikitang paglulugar or datos dito sa mga proyekto para masigurong walang magiging anomalya sa panukalang pondo at paggamit nito. Plus, the Oversight Committee, yung Congressional Committee Oversight on National or Government Expenditure na inaasahan nating mag-organize na anytime soon.
Napag-usapan ba sa press con niya yung relasyon nila ni Pangulong Marcos ng kanyang kapatid?
Ses, ang nasabi nga kanina na senadora, medyo kinalungkot niya, wala siya masyadong naging message para sa kanyang kapatid, pero ang nasabi niya, huli niya naman daw na bisita yung kanyang ina, and in good condition naman daw, very strong, very healthy naman, pero maikli lang yung naging mensahe niya para sa kapatid niyang si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Pakinggan natin.
Malungkot nga lang kasi hindi nga nagtitipon-tipon. Ano ang message ko sa aking kapatid, 2 taon na lamang at talagang pinaglaban natin to. Sayang naman at nauwi sa ganito. Ano bang message ko? Mahirap magpadala ng message hindi masyado nakikinig.
Okay, Mary Mon, tignan na lang natin kung matutuloy ang mga sinasabi ni Senador Amy Marcos. Maraming salamat. Mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes.
And as the one-year ban on filing an impeachment complaint nears its end, Vice President Sara Duterte is once again at the center of political debate. At the House of Representatives, lawmakers are pushing back against remarks by Senator Amy Marcos, who said that so-called soft pork could be used to push an impeachment case against the Vice President. News 5 House correspondent Marian Enriquez has the details.
With the impeachment clock ticking, House lawmakers are rejecting claims that political favors or promised projects are driving renewed impeachment moves against Vice President Sara Duterte. This follows comments by Senator Amy Marcos, who earlier suggested that soft pork in a budget could be used to influence lawmakers into supporting a new impeachment complaint. At the House, congressmen insist impeachment is about accountability, not transactions. House Committee on Public Accounts Chair and Bicol Saro Party Representative Terry Ridon said impeachment proceedings are not transactional and are not dependent on any promised funding. He also said the grounds for impeachment remain unchanged.
Whatever moves that will happen by the 5th of February, by the 6th of February will be undertaken independently of whatever it is that is being alleged. No? Kasi impeachment proceedings naman po are not based on projects that are promised. No? Impeachment proceedings are based on quests for truth and accountability, particularly on the use of confidential funds. No? So the basis for the impeachment last year has not changed actually for 2026.
Ridon added that clarity is still needed on the Supreme Court's pending motion for reconsideration on the dismissal of last year's impeachment complaint. A reversal, he said, could allow impeachment proceedings to resume without refiling. Meanwhile, the Makabayan bloc denied claims that any specific funds have been set aside to bankroll an impeachment effort. ACT Teachers Party List Representative Antonio Tino stressed impeachment was never discussed as a budget item during the 2026 deliberations.
Dapat pa ring ma-impeach at mapanagot ang Vice Presidente sa pagwaldas niya ng daan-daang milyong confidential funds. Wala pa rin siyang lusot doon. Talagang dapat na mapanagot siya through impeachment as well as through other means.
Tino, however, acknowledged that public funds have historically been used to pressure or incentivize lawmakers to support an administration's agenda or to marginalize its critics. Despite this, Malacanang has maintained that it is not interfering in any impeachment plans against the Vice President. Earlier, Davao City Representative Paulo Duterte dismissed the allegations against his sister as recycled and politically motivated, saying their family is ready to face any renewed attacks. Meanwhile, for House Senior Deputy Minority Leader Edgar Erice, accountability should not stop with the Vice President. He argued that President Bongbong Marcos should also be made to answer allegations tied to the flood control scandal.
Masagwa na ang pa-file namin si BP Sara ng 125 million confidential funds, 500 million na DepEd funds, as against the trillion pesos na hindi pa rin naipapaliwanag ni Presidente Marcos kung bakit niya pinayagan for 3 years na salaulain ng Kongreso yung pondo na yon. Pareho na lang silang humarap sa impeachment court. Pareho silang magpaliwanag dun sa mga akusasyon sa kanila. Ang mahalaga dito ay hindi kampi-kampihan. Ang mahalaga dito ay papanagot kung sino yung dapat managot.
With the one-year impeachment ban set to expire in February 5, attention now turns to whether lawmakers will move forward and how the issue of accountability will unfold in the weeks ahead. For News 5, I'm Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
Now on to our other big story tonight. Applicants of the Medical Assistance for Indigent and Financially Incapacitated Patients program, or MAIFIP, no longer need to secure guarantee letters from politicians. DOH Secretary Ted Herbosa says this forms part of MAIFIP's revised implementing rules and regulations, which will be finalized this month. Herbosa says indigent patients can avail themselves of zero-balance billing program in DOH hospitals. Under the existing MAIFIP guidelines, government officials typically issue letters pledging to shoulder full or partial medical expenses of qualified patients. But budget watchdogs slammed the program as vulnerable to political patronage. Despite this, Congress allocated 51 billion pesos for MAIFIP in the interest of 1.1 million patients relying on it. Lawmakers inserted a special provision banning political involvement in financial aid programs. Herbosa clarifies, though, that officials can still issue letters, with private hospitals having the option to accept or reject them. And joining us tonight to discuss this further is Department of Health Secretary Ted Herbosa. Good evening to you, Secretary Ted.
Good evening, Sas, and thank you for having me in the news.
Actually, a lot of issues to ask you, including the super flu, but let's focus first on MAIFIP. How will, because the new budget also says politicians are now banned from participating. So how will this come about?
Yes, Section 19 of the General Appropriations Act Special Provisions prohibits the elected officials from intervening in the disbursement of this particular medical assistance for indigent and financially incapacitated patients fund program. So basically, what patients should do now is to go to the social worker in the hospital, to go to the hospital director or to the regional director of our Department of Health offices to access medical assistance for indigent funds. Remember, we are already implementing what's called the zero balance billing in Department of Health hospitals. This is 83. And what is also good in the new budget is that the legislators allocated 1 billion pesos so we could expand the ZBB program to local government unit-run hospitals.
Okay.
So these are government hospitals run by cities and provinces.
So, ang mga kababayan natin, hindi na kailangan lumapit sa kanilang congressman para humingi ng guarantee letter. And hospitals will not accept guarantee letters anymore? Is that a fact?
Yeah, well, actually, the system, we never really used the guarantee letter. So basically, the Department of Health ties up with let's say, a local government hospital and disburses funds to them for assistance of their patient that are either indigent or financially incapacitated. So this is how the program has been running. This is in support of the support value of PhilHealth, because we've been trying to increase the benefits of PhilHealth, but it's still not enough to cover the expenses. So previously, in the past administration, we had what was called no balance billing, but you have to prove you're indigent. So today, last year, the president changed that and said, if you are admitted in the basic accommodation or wards of DOH hospital, your bills are paid for already. You will have zero balance billing. So this is the zero balance billing program. This is funded by funds for the DOH, which is the maintenance operating expense and the salaries of doctors and nurses, with PhilHealth reimbursement and MAIPIP funds.
Okay, but Secretary, just to follow up on Ces's point, no, this only applies to DOH accredited hospitals, right? Because you were also earlier recorded as saying that kung private hospital ito at kumuha ng guarantee letter, anyone can actually get a guarantee letter and they're free to do it. And private hospitals, it's their discretion whether or not to honor those. Can you clarify?
No, because I was asked, because there was a question. Can people still issue a guarantee letter? Of course, anyone can issue a guarantee letter, but they will be the ones to pay for that guarantee, not the Department of Health. So the Department of Health, the patients can go directly to the Department of Health to access assistance for funds. If they're in a private hospital and they don't have funds, they can go to a DOH facility and DOH office, and then they can ask for assistance. And we will use the medical assistance for indigent patients for their financial problems.
What about request letters? Just to follow up, Secretary, can politicians issue request letters to the DOH na i-assist itong pasyenteng ito? And how will that work? Will they be prioritized?
The law did not specify about request letters, and I have no problem getting a letter from an elected official asking for assistance. And we will use the government funds that are necessary to assist these patients if they truly need financial assistance.
Okay, so to your earlier point, just to clarify again, what if the DOH hospital, accredited hospital, does not provide the service that a patient needs? Can they ask the DOH for help to pay for their bill in a private facility?
Yes, and we will be coming out with an implementing rules for the use of the medical assistance for basic accommodation and maybe semi-private in the private hospital. But if you get yourself admitted in a suite room or a single room, probably you will be excluded from the benefits of the medical assistance program.
Well, Secretary, you also said that as a zero balance billing expands, the need for MAIFIP might decrease eventually. How close are we to getting to that point?
That depends on how PhilHealth will be able to increase the benefit packages this coming year. This year, we target to implement the diagnosis-related group reimbursement system. Right now, it's a case rate. So if you have pneumonia, there's only one fee for pneumonia. So what we will do with the diagnosis-related is, if you have pneumonia, diabetes, heart disease, all combined together, the reimbursement will be higher. So this will be a more appropriate reimbursement mechanism, and I'm sure the hospitals will be happier to be repaid on this type of mechanism. With this system, I am thinking that the need for MAIPIP program will decline.
Okay, but how is that, Secretary? Because actually lawmakers doubled the amount allocated for MAIFIP, from 24 billion, I believe it became 51 billion, and that has received a lot of criticism. Maybe you'd like to explain from a medical point of view why that had to happen.
Because of the zero balance billing was only implemented in DOH hospitals. So they added the medical assistance so that we can implement the zero balance billing in LGU hospitals. So it's like this: as we made the hospital care zero balance in DOH, we had a 20% increase. But we have a limited number of beds. Therefore, we have to coordinate with LGU hospitals and send them our excess patients for zero balance. That's the fund we will use to pay the LGU hospitals that accept our excess patients for zero balance. So we will try to implement in all government hospitals the zero balance billing as the funds come in.
So, will our fellow Filipinos also go to their governors or, local officials for referral letters?
That's the improvement in the health system and the financing of our health system, that you do not have to go to a politician to get health care. You just go to the government health centers and the bukas centers, Purok Kalusugan. We're also improving our primary care through the Yakap program of PhilHealth. So we're also giving out gamot which is actually a 20,000 benefit package per year for chronic medications. This is the hope of this is that we will decrease hospitalizations. And this is proven in other countries that implemented stronger primary health care. So the thrust of the president for this coming year is really to increase primary health care.
On that note, Secretary, can you give us an update on these health centers that were supposedly ghost, substandard, not completed, that came out in the news recently? Can you clarify whether or not these centers are in the process of being built para po talagang maging accessible ang primary health care?
Well, since 2022-23, they have been funding super health centers in many parts of the Philippines. There were about 800 that were funded, and I analyzed all of them. There were only about 200 that became functional. About 500 have been completed. 300 are still undergoing construction. But there are also about 312 that have been completed since last year but have not been made to function. So
Because
these are the
walang-
ones that we are
walang
now trying
personnel.
to...
Walang
Yes,
personnel.
because of lack of personnel. You see, these super health centers are run by the local government units. And they promised, they signed a memorandum of agreement when this funding was given to them. They signed an agreement that they will hire
Yeah.
the necessary doctors and nurses that will run this. Unfortunately, some are unable to hire. So there is still a problem with this system, and I'm trying to find ways to correct this. We have a national health workforce support system wherein we deploy doctors and nurses that we pay the salary through the Department of Health. But we give this to the 5th class and 6th class municipalities who really have no funds to pay for hiring. But there are other LGUs that can afford a percentage of their funds for hiring health personnel.
Is that because of brain drain, Sec? Because that's alarming. If there are cities and municipalities that actually have the revenue to be able to afford these healthcare workers, but there's none to be found, then how can the DOH step in and help them, kumbaga, as a headhunter?
That's one of the reasons. So what we've done is we've told these local government units that receive the super health centers to get their current personnel in the old facilities and put them in the new, so that the new facility can function and provide better services for their people and their constituents. And then we will find a way to repurpose the old one. We can renovate it and improve it, make it a maternal and child care center, an animal bite center, or some other facility. That way, you expand the facilities in the local government unit. The other option is, when I announced this, there were many in the private sector, especially because now that there is a PhilHealth benefit package of Yakap and Gamot, some private sectors are interested to take over these facilities and run them for the LGU. So that's another option we're looking at. So it looks bright that we can have people that can run this, especially with telemedicine, with even with less personnel, we can run them through our DOH hospitals as well.
Is
We
the
can
ma-
rotate people through them. But the LGUs have to give them back to the Department of Health. So that's the problem. It's already owned by the local government unit. So they'll have to turn it over to us, and then we will run it.
Okay, and many have expressed interest in this.
Yes, yes.
Secretary, what about malasakit centers? You said you also plan to repurpose them for patient navigation. Kasi one of the biggest problems in the country is health literacy. Patients don't know where to go. So how can the malasakit centers help address the concerns of patients in knowing where to go?
Yeah, the Malasakit Center Act created a one-stop shop, because before you have to get all these requests for funding from PhilHealth. So in the Malasakit Center, the offices that are there are PhilHealth, the Department of Health with its MAIP program, the DSWD with this AIX program, and then the PCSO. So these are 4 agencies mandated by law in over 100 plus Malasakit centers all over the country. I'm thinking that the Malasakit centers will now have to be repurposed for LGU hospitals, because the DOH hospitals are now all zero balance billing. So there's no need to actually go to Malasakit Center when you are admitted in basic accommodation in DOH. But for LGU, where there's still co-pay, we may be able to open up these facilities so that they can support patients admitted in LGU-run hospitals.
Secretary, controversy is also hounding you, and there are reports that you may be replaced. Are you hearing of this? And there's several cases filed against you as well.
Yeah, these are just allegation cases, but we've never received any single notice from the ombudsman since they started filing. So it sounds to me like there are nuisance cases. Of course, the cabinet secretaries all serve at the pleasure of the president. The president can replace us anytime, but we continue to fulfill the mandate of this president. The priority is education, health, and agriculture, and I'm up there trying to make sure that healthcare of the Filipino people gets better.
Okay, let's talk timelines. Secretary Herbosa, 3 years left in the administration. If you do not get replaced, then you have 3 years to accomplish all of this, beginning with that IRR about MAIFIP, which you said could come out by end January or early February. Is this really realistic? And how are we on the timeline? And how is this IRR going to look?
We're getting there. The goal is universal health coverage. You see, Sean, Filipino families, often the most common cause of being bankrupt or loss of money and income is because someone in the family gets a catastrophic illness, cancer, heart attack, stroke, or some severe illness, dialysis. And we're trying to correct that with access to healthcare and equity, even for the poor. So we're providing services through the Bukas centers, bagong urgent care and ambulatory centers. This is access. Then we have Purok Kalusugan, so that we go even to the remote and the GIDA areas, geographically isolated. And then we're increasing the benefit packages of PhilHealth so that the Filipinos can really feel the benefits of PhilHealth even with the higher premiums that the law has imposed. So now we have increased packages for heart attack, packages for dialysis, so that people really have to pay nothing. All they have to do is go to a dialysis center and PhilHealth pays for their bills. So we're going to go there. I'm trying to improve and lower what we call out-of-pocket expenditure of the Filipino in healthcare. When we're able to do that, we'll be able to help the middle class. So the focus really is on three main things for the next 3 years. One is good nutrition, making sure that all Filipinos are able to have good nutrition with the first 1,000 days in focus to prevent brain stunting. Second is good immunization so that all kids are protected from vaccine preventable diseases. And third is primary care, which is access to early diagnosis. And then I'm launching a program on hypertension, making sure that all those diagnosed with hypertension are given the medications they need. So they don't suffer heart attack, they don't suffer stroke.
Health Secretary Ted Herbosa, we thank you for your time. Thank you for
Thank you
coming
very
on the
much,
big story.
Ses.
All right, let's move on now to another story. The Philippine peso slipped to a fresh record low after it closed at 59.35 to the dollar. Data from the Bankers Association of the Philippines showed that the currency opened at 59.24, which was already beyond the previous record of 59.22 set in December. The peso later touched an intraday low of 59.38 before briefly pulling back to 59.20, gains that it failed to sustain by the end of session. The local currency has lost ground following the end of the holiday season after remittance inflows helped keep the peso afloat to the 58 peso range in December. The sell-off also came following a U.S. military strike on Venezuela, rattling global markets, fueling expectations that the peso could weaken towards 61 against the greenback by late next year.
Now we're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, Mayon volcano continues its heightened activity. We talk to the provincial governor of Albay on the current situation of affected municipalities. When we return, stay tuned.
Welcome back to the big story. Heavy rainfall in Albay aggravated fears of possible lahar flow as Mayon volcano continued spewing lava and ash. Just this evening, crater glow and lava flow were observed at the volcano. So now let's get an update on the situation on the ground. We now talk to News 5 correspondent Gio Robles reporting to us live from Legazpi City. Gio, we hear that you're now currently in one of the evacuation centers?
Says from the evacuation center, we move now to the center of the Albay province, which is the provincial capital. But before I talk about the situation of the evacuees, FIVOC says, and as you mentioned, says that there is an ongoing crater glow that has been spotted at the crater or summit of Mayon volcano tonight. Take a look at this footage from FIVOX showing the incandescent lava dome, a glowing super hot mount of thick lava building up at the top of Mayon. FIVOX cameras caught this earlier between 6:36 and 7 p.m. FIVOX adds that rockfalls and short pyroclastic density currents, also known as uson, are flowing down the Bonga Gully. FIVOX has yet to release additional details on the matter. This development comes as Mayon remains under alert level 3. Because of this, residents living within the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone here in Albay have now been evacuated. According to the Albay provincial government, more than 800 families or over 3,000 residents have already been moved to evacuation centers. These are from the cities of Tabaco and Ligao and the towns of Malilipot, Daraga, Kamalig, and Ginobatan. And that number could still go up. Overnight, FIVOX recorded 131 rockfall events along the slopes of Mayon, some of which were accompanied by uson. Uson is a fast-moving mix of volcanic gas, ash, and rocks. It is extremely hot and dangerous. FIVOX warns that anyone hit by uson can suffer severe burns or even die. From yesterday until this morning, Mayon continued to release these pyroclastic flows. And as what we are seeing right now, FIVOX also noted swelling on volcano, something they say was not seen during the 2020 to 2023 eruptions. This could indicate that new magma is rising beneath the volcano. Still, FIVOX says this does not yet point to an explosive eruption. Volcanic earthquakes remain limited and sulfur dioxide emissions are still relatively low. At present, sulfur dioxide output is at around 700 tons per day. These are among the indicators FIVOX is closely monitoring to determine whether the alert level needs to be raised to level 4 or even level 5. FIVOX also warns that if ashfall occurs, volcanic ash could reach nearby provinces such as Masbate and Sorsogon. Meanwhile, the Albay local government says it is also closely watching rainfall brought by the shear line, especially in areas prone to lahar flows, including Masarawag in Ginobatan and the southern areas of Legazpi and Daraga. Says.
All right, Gio, can we assume that there is lava flow still ongoing now from the mouth of the volcano?
Well, from my point of view or POV, as what the Gen Zs would say, we cannot see clearly Mayon volcano from where I'm standing right now because it's too dark. And the weather has been gloomy and rainy since this morning. But if we take a look at the live videos from FIVOX and Congressman Joey Salceda, maybe they're closer to Mayon volcano or before the 6-kilometer danger zone, we can see that there's a lava flow or even FIVOX would say that along with that, there's a mix of pyroclastic density currents or uson as what the Oragons would say. Says.
This uson is a new term that's been coined. How swift does it move? Can you get out of the way if you're
well, it moves.
Go ahead.
Well, the reason behind authorities are conducting preemptive evacuation is to avoid casualties if ever, and hopefully, knock on wood, there is an occurrence of uson, because uson is a mixture of gas, ash, and molten rocks. And if the volcano would emit it, mabilis yung kumbaga yung pagdaloy niya sa dalisdis or the slope of the volcano. Looking back, when Mount Pinatubo erupted, there is this iconic photo of a huge dark cloud from, I think, from the coverage of Miss Chari Villa, if you can still remember that. That is Uson, if I'm not mistaken. So it moves fast, and it's deadly and very hot. Assess.
Right. Gio, how is life though in Legazpi? It looks like people are going on about their business normally and they're used to this kind of activity from Mayon.
So when we visited one of the evacuation centers kanina, some of the residents there seem to get used to this situation. And when they told us, parang nagpaparamdam ulit yung Mayon volcano, parang normal na sa kanila. And even here sa city proper, Legazpi City, business as usual. Pero kasi yung observation kasi more on scientific level, based doon naman sa ginagawa ng mga volcanologists natin na pagmamonitor closely dito sa galaw ng Mayon volcano. Sa ngayon kasi wala naman tayo pang nararamdaman, like for example na pagyanig from here, and yung rockfall events and even uson or yung lava flow is doon pa lang, kumbaga concentrated pa lang siya sa slope ng Mayon volcano. But we are hoping na hindi na lumala or will not get worse, kasi yun yung pinangangambahan since ngayon nasa 6-kilometer danger zone pa lang yung evacuation efforts. Once na erase ito sa level 4 or level 5, which is the highest intensity, mas lalawak na yung evacuation efforts, which will be 7 to 8 or within the 7 to 8 kilometer danger zone. So pero ngayon, normal pa ang buhay here sa Legazpi and in other areas of Albay. Usually, yung mga in-evacuate ay doon lang sa paanan ng Mayon volcano or within the 6-kilometer danger zone. Ito yung mga bahay doon o yung mga families doon na sila nakahanap ng livelihood, mostly farmers, yung mga nag-aalaga ng hayop dito sa gilid ng Mayon volcano. Ses.
All right, we thank you so much for your update. That was News 5's Gio Robles reporting from Legazpi, Albay. And now Albay provincial government is still implementing preemptive evacuation within the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone of Mayon volcano. Let's get updates straight from their governor, Noel Rosal. Good evening to you, Governor. Thank you for coming on The Big Story.
Yes, good evening.
All right, tell us about how the evacuation has proceeded. Did your constituents follow the 6-kilometer danger zone wherein they're supposed to vacate?
Yes, actually, we started the evacuation yesterday because of the declaration from alert level 2 to 3 by PBOX because of rock falls about 11 a.m. yesterday. So we started about 1 p.m. The 2,889 is still remaining in the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone. Ito talaga yung kinalaw natin because this is our standard operating procedure. Right. That every time alert level 3 would be raised, we have to vacate them. These are majority farmers doon kasi yung mga anak buhay nila. Pero ginagawa na namin ng paraan. As a matter of fact, 5 years ago, more than 6,000 ito. Pero ito po ang challenge sa amin na dapat next time talagang alisin na to. But for the meantime, meron pang natitira na 2,000 plus with about 700 families ito from 4 municipalities and 2 cities in Albay. Nasa evacuation na po sila lahat.
Okay.
And we already gave them food packs which is good for 3 days. And before 3 days will be consumed, magbibigay ulit tayo.
Tamang sinabi nyo, Gov, based on the behavior of Mayon, it can be a long haul, can be months. But, so dapat talaga hindi na patitirhan yung danger zone na yun na 6 kilometers area, right?
Yes,
Yun yung long-term
yan talaga
plan.
ang goal ngayon, ang long term na natin. May naiwan lang ito. Ito lang po talaga naiwan ng 2,000 mga farmers. But we have to consider now their livelihood. Kailangan yung ating gobyerno magbigay ng pinatawag na alternative na.
So, ngayon po ba patuloy pa rin yung lava flow based
Actually,
sa update?
Yeah, based doon sa reporter nyo na napakinggan ko, tama po yon. Kaninang 6:30, may nag-collapse na lava dome on the south quadrant going to Bonga. So we're still verifying kung gaano kalaki to. So makikita to kasi medyo umuulan kasi dito Pero bukas makikita natin to daylight kung gaano kalaki yung nag-collapse kaninang 6:30 to 7 p.m. Ngayon hindi natin masyado makita yung glow because of the weather, no? Natakip yung Mayon. But because of the telescope, ang PBOX po, meron silang inside track niyan kung ano ang sitwasyon ngayong gabi. Magre-report sila anytime now.
Okay, pinapakita rin po natin sa ating viewers ang live feed ng PVOX. Pero gusto ko lang sana itanong ng Governor yung short-term plan. Nabanggit niyo yung long-term plan, but in the short term, how long are you prepared for the evacuees? Do you have supplies for how many months, etc.?
Yes, the system is already in place as we had in 2018, yung explosion, and recently, yung 2023, almost 6 months kami. So ganito ang SOP dyan. First, yung local government muna. Then, papasok yung national government through the DSWD. So, isusustain po natin to kahit pa paano, itong 729 families. Pero ang pinaghahandaan natin ngayon, ito nga na pwedeng mag-declare kung talagang dami pa ang activity ni Mayon to alert level 4. Ito po ang meeting namin kanina with multi-government agencies. Nandito mismo si Rafi Alejandro para pagandaan namin yung alert level 4. Ito talaga ang medyo malakihan na to. We're talking of about 7 to 8 extended danger zone. So this will cover about additional 50,000 to 70,000 individuals. So ito talaga ang challenge ngayon sa amin as we did this in 2018. No? I was still then a mayor. So ngayon po, ito ang paghahandaan natin because we need now more evacuation centers, more food, and of course, yung medical health ng ating mga kababayan.
And Governor, I understand, apart from individuals and families, kahit yung mga hayop, mga animals, kasama rin sa evacuation. Paano po ba yung protocol doon at paano nyo yun pinaghahandaan?
Yes, kasi maraming beses na meron na rin kami bawat locality, bawat munisipyo, meron na naka-assign dyan na evacuation area din ng mga iba't ibang klaseng hayop. Ano? So, ngayon po, just this morning, nag-report na sa atin ang Provincial Veterinarian Office. Nandun na yung mga mapa. And I know just this afternoon, meron na tayong pailan-ilan. So, we need now to get the data tomorrow para yung ating budget naka-ready para dyan. Kasi siyempre, kailangan din yung pagkain, saka yung magbabantay.
In closing, Governor, the danger of lahar flows because of the inclement weather there in your area. And we do understand that there are still deposits from previous eruptions.
Correct. There are still, sa computation na millions of tons pa yan. Ito ang tinatakutan natin, itong bad weather, continuing rain. Kaya talagang dapat ibaba natin yung nasa 6 kilometer danger zone. Pero hindi lang yan, ang mud flow kasi, ang lahar flow, minsan bumababa yan hanggang dito sa amin, sa mga gali namin. Kaya ito nakamonitor din ang DPWH, saka yung ating Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office.
All right. We thank you for your time in the middle of this crisis. Salamat sa inyo.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Thank you, Len.
we wish you the best, Albay Governor Noel Rosal.
And we are pausing for another quick break, but right after that, the traditional pahalik for the feast of the Jesus Nazareno is now in full swing. We'll take a look at the situation in a bit. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back to the big story. What you're seeing now are live pictures from Mayon volcano. We just got off with the camera with the Albay governor who was talking to us about how there's the possibility of raising the alert level to 4.
Yeah, and it looks like just after we put down that Zoom call, it's finally happened. What we are seeing now is an ongoing dome collapse of pyroclastic density current over at the Mayon volcano. He was saying that earlier they were in a meeting with the Office of the Civil Defense in Legazpi because they were actually planning for this exact situation that we are witnessing right now on air.
So it's an ongoing dome collapse of pyroclastic density current.
Or Uson, as we
Uson,
call it locally.
Uson, right.
And also happening today, of course, devotees have started lining up since this morning for the first day of the Pahalik sa Poong Nazareno as part of the Traslasyon activities. Let's get the latest from our mobile journalist, Arles de los Santos. He is live at the Quirino Grandstand. Arles, what's up and how are things going over there?
Nagsimula na nga ang pahalik para sa Poong Nazareno dito sa Quirino Grandstand kung saan makikita ninyo sa aking likuran talagang napakarami na ng tao. Yung ilan sa kanila, alas 6 pa lamang ng umaga, alas 8, alas 11 ay dumating na dito at galing yan sa iba't ibang mga probinsya sa bansa. May mga galing Cavite, Laguna, Batangas at yung iba talagang lumiban ng kanilang trabaho para nga makapunta raw sa kanilang taunang panata ng paghalik dito sa Poong Nazareno para sa paparating na traslasyon sa Biyernes. May ilan dyan na nandito kahapon pa lamang Pero para sa kanila, hindi nila alintana ang nakapapasong sigat ng araw, mahabang pila, ngalay at ang layo ng kanilang mga tahanan dahil nga sa kanilang panata. May nakausap tayo dito na si Amiel na mula lamang naman sa Tondo, Manila pero halos 4 na dekada na raw itong kanyang ginagawa, no? Pero sinama niya ang kanyang mga kaibigan, mga kumare at kazumba dahil nais daw niyang maranasan ng kanyang mga kaibigan yung kanyang taunan na partisipasyon dito sa pahalik at sa paparating na translasyon para din daw mababahaginan sila ng mga biyaya at maramdaman din talaga yung experience dito sa talagang inaabangan na pahalik gabi-gabi, taon-taon, no? Dito nga sa Boras Boulevard, talagang puno na yung dami ng mga tao dito at patuloy pang nadadagdagan. Though kanina merong maliit na sitwasyon dito dahil ikinadismaya ng ilang mga deboto na umaga pa lamang ay nakapila na. Yung pagkatapos kasi ng misa kanina, Sean, Pauline at Ses, no, yung mga devotee, yung mga volunteers at yung ibang mga miyembro ng simbahan, sila yung kasama doon sa mga naunang humalik, no, dito sa Nazareno. Pero yung dahilan niyan medyo na-delay. Mas natagalan na naghintay yung mga deboto na mula pa kaninang umaga ay nakapila pa rito. Pero ilang minuto lamang matapos silang mga lampag, talagang tinuktok nila yung mga bakal na mga barandilya at mga tent, pinapasok naman na sila. No? Pero paalala sa lahat ng mga deboto na pupunta rito sa pahalik at makikiisa din sa translasyon sa Biyernes, yung mga may sakit daw ay mas mainam na lumiban na muna dahil baka raw makahawa ang kanilang mga sipon at ubo dahil medyo siksikan talaga ang mga pangyayari na ito, yung mga pagtitipo na ito rather para sa translasyon 2026 at ito na rin daw ay para sa kaligtasan ng publiko. Tuloy-tuloy din yung pagdating at paglilibot ng mga otoridad kagaya ng kapulisan at ng iba't ibang mga ahensya ng pamahalaan dito sa Maynila para masiguro ang maayos at panayad na pahalik para sa Poong Nazareno ngayong 2026.
Okay, maraming salamat. Mobile journalist Arles De Los Santos reporting to us live from the Quirino Grandstand.
And that will do it for us here on The Big Story this Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching.
We're back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are one news, all sides, all the time. Have a good night. We ended with a blast.
Man.
Literally.
I know, eh? Very explosive. Well, coming up next, more explosions, this time from the world of sports. Play-by-play is up next with Andre Felix and the birthday girl, Cheska Liton-Calaw.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! Akala ko sabay-sabay tayo.
Kasi ang dami nangyayari.
Kaya nga eh. Hindi ko pa nga binate. Sabi ko sasabayan ko yung big story. Nauna kayo. So, happy birthday, Cheska. Mamaya na
Thank
ikanta.
you so much.
It's her birthday.
Even the volcano, Cheska.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I hope the
Yeah,
people in
yeah.
Bicol stay safe.
Of course.
I hope
Birthday
everyone's okay.
wish.
Mamaya na.
Mamaya na.
Mamaya.
Secret na lang natin.
Tama. Mamaya. Thank you. Great.